I was in there sitting on the toilet and the phone rang in the bathroom, you know, and he's like, "Yo, Dre."
Dr. Dre has been a staple in the rap industry for decades. His company, Aftermath Records, has made a permanent mark on the music industry as the forefront staple for creating so many stars we know and love today. Dr. Dre can be credited for overseeing an insane amount of A-list rap artists' careers, including the likes of Tupac, Snoop Dogg, Eminem, 50 Cent, Kendrick Lamar, and so many others. Not only is he an extremely decorated producer of music, but his own career has been so expansive that he is credited as the key figure in the creation and popularization of West Coast G-Funk, which is a style of hip-hop with heavy synths and slow beats. And now Dr. Dre is performing alongside the very people whose careers he helped foster, mainly Snoop, Eminem, Kendrick, and Mary J. Blige, in the halftime show that has the potential to make history. Today we're covering Dr. Dre during our Super Bowl special. Tomorrow though, well, probably another Super Bowl related star, but I still want to hear your suggestions for future videos, so please leave them in the comments down below. Don't forget to like this video as well so we know to keep doing more. Now let's get into it. Dre was born as Andre Young in Compton, California. At the time of his youth, Compton was an extremely impoverished area with routine violence. It has the highest crime rate in California and was the hub for gang violence, primarily caused by the notoriously feuding gangs the Bloods and the Crips. Dre went to high school in Compton, but due to the commonality of gang violence, he had to transfer to a much safer suburban high school. His family moved very often and lived in apartments and houses between many different Los Angeles neighborhoods. Dre credits his grandmother for being his primary caregiver during this time, as his parents were divorced and more focused on their new families with other people. During high school, his education was constantly on the brink due to poor grades and frequent absences. He eventually graduated from an adult school to make his mother happy, as she attempted to press the importance of education onto her son. Starting as a DJ, Dr. Dre adopted his moniker pretty early on, initially naming himself Dr. J before changing the J to his nickname. While DJing, he met many aspiring rap artists who would go on to pioneer the gangster rap genre. He joined a musical group called World Class Wrecking Crew, which dominated the mid to early 1980s electro-hop scene. In 1986, when Dre was 20 years old, he met Ice Cube and they collaborated on a few songs for a record label run by my personal favorite hip-hop artist, Eazy-E. Together they formed NWA, a gangster rap group that was heavily riddled with profanity and aggressively described their harsh lives and environments that fostered urban crime and gang lifestyles. It's important to note that while their music was largely seen at the time by white Americans as inappropriate, and in a lot of cases their music got pretty much zero radio play, the genre allowed a disenfranchised population of people gain a sense of belonging. The music is written by black people for black people, who for so long have been under the boot of an established power that couldn't care less about them. It allowed for expression, politically and culturally, that reflected the violent systems they were forced to grow up in. Just look at their song, "The Police." The song is the subject of countless academic journals. It's unflinching in its depiction of the unfairness and often unwarranted hostility that black people face every day at the hands of the cops. The system was so angry about their first album, Straight Outta Compton, that would go on to become a full-fledged movie, that the FBI sent their record label a warning letter in response. Eventually, Dre left NWA and created Death Row Records with Suge Knight. Together they introduced some of the greatest artists of all time to the industry, including, but most definitely not limited to, Snoop Dogg, Corrupt, Daz Dillinger, Nate Dogg, and the Lady of Rage, and way more. Dr. Dre almost single-handedly ushered in the golden age of G-Funk, which combined the funk elements of the past with gangster rap and angry, gut-punching lyrics. In 1995, he and Knight signed Tupac, who is considered one of the greatest artists of the 1990s. Only a year later though, Dre left the company and claimed that Suge Knight had become corrupt, financially dishonest, and out of control. That being said, it allowed him to form his own company, Aftermath Records, and even though it had a very rocky start on the heels of Tupac's death, it produced some of the greatest musicians of a generation. Their first commercial success was the track No Diggity by Blackstreet, which took a more R&B spin to the traditionally gangster rap label. The song rocks. It's a mainstay on my own playlists among millions of others. It kind of symbolized the ushering in of a new stylistic era for Aftermath Records, focused more on rhythm and smooth beats rather than a harsh gut puncher. Then in 1996, the company was on the brink of financial ruin when it made the decision that would change the company and the world forever. He signed Eminem, whose style was so unique people couldn't help but pay attention to him. During the 2000s, Dre focused more on fostering the creativity of other artists on his own label. He featured consistently on his signees' albums and helped them hone their craft in the ever-evolving industry. In 2011, he announced that he would take a break from music to focus on his headphone company to, quote, work on bringing his Beats by Dre to a standard as high as Apple, along with wanting to spend more time with his family. He's worked on a few things since then, but largely slowed as he's gotten older and changed changed his priorities. As for his personal life, he became a father at 16 years old with his 15-year-old girlfriend. The boy was brought up by his mother and had only met Dre when he was 20 years old. Over the years, Dr. Dre had 7 kids with various women before he married Nicole Thriot in 2001. They sadly divorced in June 2021 due to irreconcilable differences. Neither party had actually spoken publicly about why they got divorced, and it came as a total shock to Dr. Dre fans because they seemed so strong together. But some news sites theorize that their marriage may have come to an end because of the insurgence of attention given to the rapper's controversial history with women. 3 separate women came forward with their accounts of Dr. Dre violently harming them, with one instance occurring while one of the women was pregnant with his child. After the 2015 release of the film Straight Outta Compton, Michelle, Dre's ex-girlfriend and fellow artist, stated that she was both surprised and glad that her experience wasn't depicted in the film. She said, quote, "The truth is too ugly for the general audience." She said that Dr. Dre has broken several of her bones and left her with physical scars from regular harm. It took until after the film was released for Dre to actually even apologize. In a New York Times statement, he said, quote, "25 years ago, I was a young man drinking too much and in over my head with no real structure in my life. However, none of this is an excuse for what I did. I've been married for 19 years, and every day I'm working to be a better man for my family, seeking guidance along the way. I'm doing everything I can so I can resemble that man again. I apologize to the women I've hurt, I deeply regret what I did, and know that it has forever impacted all of our lives." While I'm sure finally receiving an apology for his actions may have led to some closure, a lot of people were upset because it seems that he only really apologized because he wanted the movie to do well, and didn't want his reputation to be ruined. Too little too late, especially considering he rarely, if ever, mentioned how brutally he hurt the women he was with for many years. Now though, Dr. Dre is set to dominate the stage of the Super Bowl halftime show with none other than the very people whose careers he helped bring to the spotlight all those years ago. He'll perform beside Snoop Dogg, Eminem, Mary J. Blige, and Kendrick Lamar on stage for the first ever all-rap lineup in the Super Bowl. It's poetic justice that this is all going down in Inglewood, California, not far from Dre's very own neighborhood of Compton, and oh so close to the birthplace of West Coast hip-hop and gangsta rap. Dr. Dre himself even stated that the event would be, quote, "an unforgettable cultural moment." All 5 musical artists together have a combined 44 Grammys, and if the event organizers can pull it off, this stage is set to be one of the most exciting events of the 21st century. Either way, it's bound to be unforgettable, and every rap fan should tune in to see how these musical giants play off of one another on one of the world's biggest stages. Are you as pumped for this halftime show as me? Let us know in the comments down below. And thank you so much for watching this episode of Where Are They Now? I've been your host, Sierra. Please don't forget to subscribe to this channel. I'll see you next time.